Now, for more on this, I'm joined by Sean Stein Smith. He's an assistant professor at Lehman College at City University of New York. Welcome to the show. Good to see you. I don't know where we left it off last time, but I am, for the record, very skeptical of all of this. The reason why Bitcoin's shot up into the moon is because everyone loved the fact that it wasn't regulated, right? And now we're talking about to save it, we would need to regulate it. And what am I getting wrong here?
Yeah, sure thing. So probably the overarching point here to really try to get hands around right now, Phil, is the current volatility and some of the bankruptcies that are going on out there actually are not a direct cause of the lack of regulation. Actually, it's a positive sign, as actually most of the firms, business models, coins, and tokens out there who are failing are operating on either unproven, untested, or just plain questionable business models.
But if this was a regular bank and you and I were conducting business and I said, well, let's see your checkbook, and you show me my checkbook and this is my revenue. I mean, there's a level of transparency that's honestly regulated. Isn't this the result of a sort of free for all and everyone just does whatever they want and there's no consequences?
Mm-hmm. And so to a point, the overall crypto asset marketplace has had more a hands-off regulatory take up until now, Phil, right? But in the EU, in the US, and in a whole host of other external marketplaces, right, there are policies, acts, bills being put forward right now, hoping to answer some of those exact points.
Warren Buffett and people like him have all insinuated that Bitcoin is basically borderline a fraud, a shell game, if you will. Tell me why they're wrong.
Sure. Now, I would never want to argue directly versus Warren Buffett, but his angle on this is perhaps misinformed, right? And that the overarching value and the really underlying business case of Bitcoin and adding on to that other assets in this space isn't really the economic value at any point in natural time. It's rather the platform and the applications built on these assets, right? Instantaneous, traceable, and unhackable transactions.
You know, I grew up in the world of old school buy and sell. And whenever things went up, it's because more people were buying, and the reverse is also true when things went down because more people were selling. So in this case, with cryptocurrency going down, more people are selling, right? So what's the big deal? If they want to sell, let them sell. Why is that a problem? It went all the way up on the other side too.
Yeah, now I've been arguing that actually this whole the bloodbath meltdown, sort of drawdown in prices, is actually a positive thing overall, because obviously Bitcoin, it's the headliner, it's the eyeball catching one, but the bulk of the assets, tokens, coins being sort of brought down to zero are the assets out there that had no fundamental value or business case or applications in the first place. So ultimately, I have no problem having Bitcoin drop, because ultimately the assets ultimately out there left over are going to be stronger as a result.
Right. And so, and I don't know if you can answer this, but if an exchange is shut down, so let's say I buy something and I make $1, technically I would report it to the IRS that I made $1 trading Bitcoin. And people love it because you don't have to report a lot of this stuff. But the reverse could also be true, is now this stuff is all falling. People may have losses that they can't really write off, if you will. In fact, if the exchanges are frozen, you technically can't even monetize the losses because you can't sell your Bitcoin or your securities. Isn't this a major problem if you want this to be a legitimate industry?
I would say so, yes. And I'm a CPA by expertise, and so the whole conversation around how to correctly treat crypto from an income tax point of view is an incredibly fast and moving and highly complicated conversation. But yes, right, having more rules and transparency and clarity over how to handle bankruptcies or other external factors in there is an angle both at the IRS and other tax agencies are going to have to tackle soon. Absolutely.
If you were advising Congress to provide legislation to sort of save, if you will, or regulate the industry, what would you want them to tackle first?
I would say part one, add some clarity over who oversees what, right? Which agency oversees what external crypto asset? And then adding on to that part two, which agency oversees any entities either issuing their own privately issued stable coins or trying to act as a crypto bank? And then adding on to that, part three, it's trying to codify who can use crypto for what under what conditions at the enterprise level.
Sean, I'm not a CPA, but I sure get along with a lot of other CPAs, and I think that's why we're having this great conversation. Sean Stein Smith, assistant professor at Lehman College, City University, New York. Thanks for joining us.